I'm not saying this to try to make it sound like loving yourself is easy and that, you should just love yourself. Because I also find that tends to be the message out there. The people will be like, oh, love yourself. But sometimes we really do need to know how, or like, what does that look like? And that's another reason why I feel like it's sometimes misguided or misrepresented in social media. But basically, chances are if you have low self-esteem or low self-confidence, then you probably struggle with self-love because you don't believe you're worth prioritizing your well-being. You're listening to the Gradually Well podcast with your host, Mariah Wilson. This is the place where you tune in to learn what it truly means to prioritize well-being. Here we believe that well-being is about so much more than eating healthy and being physically fit. We actually use the definition that well-being is about the ability to see the good and bad across situations. We discuss all the areas of our life that actually affect our health and wellness. Learning and talking about these areas is important because it will allow us to evaluate and identify how we can make genuine, lasting change that helps us live a healthy lifestyle. Tune in every week to hear more. Now let's talk about it. So we're back. I took 2 weeks off on accident. At the beginning of the year, I talked about how I was trying to figure out my rhythm and had decided to go ahead and shoot for doing an episode every week. I really felt like I could do it. And I said, let's see how this goes through the first quarter, through the end of March. Well, this is now the second time that I haven't been able to do it every week. So I say, instead of just trying to stress out and force myself to be able to do it, this was an experiment anyway. I'm going to say, let's scale it back to doing an episode every other week. The goal will be, that's going to be something that I'm going to work towards now, to releasing an episode every week. But until then, I'm going to do what is realistic until I just have the time and the space and the skill to upload an episode every week. But nevertheless, I'm back. I can't be gone for too long here. So we still get an episode in. And I'm excited about this one because I really wanted to get it in before the end of February. I know we had Valentine's Day, and generally I feel like February is kind of known as the month that we talk about love, relationships, and intimacy. So I figured it'd be really great to end the month by talking about self-love. So let's get into it. To start us off here, I want to ask, what does love mean to you? If you had to define it, what does love mean to you? Now that might feel like a super easy question to answer, or it could feel kind of loaded. It could feel maybe heavy. Now, what does self-love mean to you? I make the distinction because I find that people tend to define self-love differently than love, which I think is pretty interesting because, I don't know, it seems almost intuitive to think that self-love is just love, but just done towards yourself. But when I was looking up people's definitions and watching different videos of love, I felt like there were two different definitions given. And since I was on social media looking for people's descriptions and thoughts on self-love, I came across a video by intimacy expert Shan Boodram, where she was expressing that she's not really that much of a fan of the self-love culture online. And I definitely had to finish watching her video because I was like, what do you mean by that? I've always felt like it's been a pretty positive thing. I love seeing the self-love, self-care videos. So to hear that she felt it was misguided really piqued my interest. And I'm like, what are you talking about, girl? What do you mean that self-love is often misguided? And once I finished the video, I feel like I truly got what she was saying, and I guess I ended up agreeing. So what she did was she broke it down to explaining, one, what true love actually is. And then she went on to explain that a lot of times when it comes to self-love, we only focus on one part of true love. And one of the definitions she used for true love was that it involves celebration. But that's one part. She listed like 5 parts, but that was just one part. And when it comes to self-love, a lot of times we focus on the celebratory part of it. And it's usually something that can easily be turned into something that will look good on social media. So it may be like, hey, I'm going to go treat myself to getting my hair done, getting my nails done, or I don't know, I deserve a spa trip. So anything kind of celebratory, that seemed to be what the definition of self-love, or what it was represented by. And I seem to notice that there was this trend that, one, we either had to convince ourselves that we deserve to treat ourselves. So there had to be some kind of rationale. Or if it wasn't that, even if you were just giving yourself a just because gift or treat, there was this undertone that self-love is about doing something special or out of the ordinary for yourself. Now, disclaimer real quick. I don't think there's anything wrong with showing yourself love in that way. I think it's actually really positive when people can celebrate themselves and treat themselves. And I don't think that was Shan's saying either, that there was anything wrong with it. I think the issue lies is when we only define self-love or associate it with celebrating yourself. Like it's deeper than that. Plus, it brings me back to what comes to mind when we think of love. When I first asked, how do you define love? And one, there's different definitions or different types of love. In the purest form of love, you have that selfless type of love where it's not about what you do, but it just, I love you because of who you are. And it's most often associated with God. It's that agape type of love. Like, I personally feel this kind of love towards my son. He didn't do anything for me to kind of convince me to love him. He just is my son, so therefore I love him. There's nothing he's done to make me feel that way towards him. Alternatively, sometimes you can maybe have a transactional type of love where maybe somebody has done something for you and over time they make you, they make you feel a certain kind of way, in a good way. They add value to your life, whether that is a friendship or relationship. That's even two different types of love. But anyway, both of those can be kind of transactional if it's based off of what they add to your life. You may feel like you have a lot of love for that person because of what they bring to you. And then on that same side, like when those expressions and the things that they add to your life kind of stop, you may feel like your love is fading away or it's no longer there because they're not giving you anything. So there's also like that transactional type of love as well. So again, my point is that there are different types of love. You have that agape type of love. You can have unconditional, which is similar, or like the transactional. There's several different formal terms for it, but our point is that, there's different types of love. What makes me curious when it comes to self-love, though, is that why is our default when it comes to loving ourselves, why is it so easy to give ourselves that transactional type of love? Like we feel like I have to do something to deserve loving myself. Why is it not the default to just unconditionally love yourself, just to love yourself because you are, period? It seems like there tends to be strings attached. You have to deserve your love, or you have to deserve the treat. You know what I'm saying? And when I was going through people's videos and comments and stuff, it seemed like that's what a lot of people associated self-love with. So that just makes me wonder, like, why is that? And I actually think Shan said it perfectly. She quoted someone, I don't remember who it was, but she said it's because we as people, we tend to value human doing over human being. Basically, it feels and seems better to focus on the things that we do over who we are. And there's this pressure out there that says you have to be doing something, and if you're not worth of whatever, in this case, love. So of course this got me thinking, and I was like, wait a second, do I consider love to be a reward? Should I consider it to be a reward? I think a lot of people do, whether that's intentional or not. And that's when everything clicked, that I'm like, you know what? I absolutely agree. I think the self-love culture that's represented a lot of times is a bit misguided. And it's misguided because it can lead you to believe that, one, self-love always or only looks like something special or a treat or something out of the ordinary. And then two, the represented self-love often looks like we need to do something in order to deserve that act of kindness or self-care version of self-love. And again, so even if you can celebrate yourself, and you can feel like you deserve good things. Like, I don't know, you could say, I did really good at work this year. I'm really proud of myself. I'm proud of the job I have and what I'm doing there. So I'm going to treat myself. Nothing is wrong with that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's not just represented by that. And I think it would be really great if we kind of go into that. What else can self-love look like? What does it look like on a daily basis? And what does it look like beyond celebration? So all of this self-love talk and what it is and what it isn't, let's just talk about what it is. Now, when you look at the definition, it's going to vary slightly based on who you ask, what resources you're looking at. But when I was going through several sources, there seemed to be a consensus that self-love is an appreciation, a deep appreciation for yourself. And that appreciation for yourself will grow the better you get at prioritizing your own well-being. And it's not just about feeling good. It's about doing what's good for you and what's best for your well-being. Like regular, I say that in quotes, regular love or non-self-love, whenever you love somebody else, it's a choice. It's in addition to it being a feeling, but it's also that ability to look at your life with compassion. It's not about, satisfying the cravings and wants, not just about that. It's about meeting your needs. And when you read more and more about self-love, it becomes really clear as to why there seems to be a lot of overlap with self-love and all the other self things like self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth, and most popularly, self-care. There is actually a scientific definition of self-love. I had actually never heard of this before, but I thought it was interesting. It's called self-positivity bias, which is defined as the way people rate themselves as possessing more positive personality traits and displaying more positive behaviors than the average population. So it's like having a positivity bias towards yourself, thinking very highly of yourself, but not in a cocky or delusional way, but just being positive towards yourself and having these personal positive traits about yourself. So that's pretty interesting. That's called, again, self-positivity bias. Now, when it comes to my self-love journey and how I relate to this, I had to actually think on what self-love has been looking like to me. And I think I actually went on my self-love journey years ago unintentionally. The term was definitely not popular then, so I couldn't have even articulated that that's what I was going through. But basically, when I went natural back in 2011, natural's talking about my hair. I had been getting relaxers since I was in 4th grade. So that was chemically straightening my hair. And then so that was 4th grade. And then that was all the way through high school. And I just remember there being like this natural hair community popping up on YouTube. And my favorite channel was of these 3 sisters, and they were all going natural and their hair all looked different. Their lives are different. I just thought they were so cool. They were called My Natural Sisters. So shout out to them. They were one of my favorite channels. So I remember just being amazed at their hair type and just what it could do. And I was like, wait, it's doing that on its own? Because honestly, before 4th grade, I wore a lot of little girl hairstyles. So I didn't really wear my hair out and curly like that. So I really didn't even remember what my natural curl pattern or texture really looks like prior to getting it relaxed. So it was just completely fascinating to me to see these women online like celebrating their hair, doing all these fun, cute styles with it. And I was totally influenced and inspired to go natural myself. And I went natural, and then over time the movement of going natural got bigger. So it was cool whenever, now I feel like, you see all types of natural hair and different types all over the place. But back in 2011, back then, it was a little less common. So it was always cool when you met somebody else, and then you would ask questions like, oh, how long you've been natural, and these just different things. I actually bonded and met some of my college friends because we had all went natural around the same time, and that was a really good bonding experience for us. So it was really cool to go through that with women and just see the variety and versatility of our hair. And I remember, actually, I don't remember a time ever like hating my hair or my hair texture, but as time went on and more and people were going natural, and I guess maybe I just also was paying attention to it more, I will say, that I didn't hate my hair, but I did at certain times wish I had a different curl pattern or a different texture. And I think that was because, I don't know, it could have been a number of reasons. I saw other textures getting praised or more complimented more than mine was. And maybe there was just a little bit of desire to have that kind of validation that it was beautiful too. But it was interesting to watch how I had went natural because I was inspired by women that looked like me. And I was like, yeah, I don't have to have my hair chemically straightened for it to be considered beautiful. And that was really positive, really good experience for me. And then over time, there was like a little bump where I was like, oh, there's this texturism kind of thing going on. And I was a little bit concerned or felt like I had to manipulate my curls for it to look a certain way, for it to be considered beautiful. And I had to learn again that, no, it doesn't have to look, I don't have to have curls like any other person for it to be considered beautiful either. And over time, I learned to fully just love my hair, not because of the compliments or because of what I could get it to do, but just because it was my hair. That's the place that I've gotten to. And I really had to learn how to tune out other people's comments or assumptions or whatever when it came to hair, because even now, I feel like there was something I was seeing a while ago where in the natural hair community, some people felt like, they would try to redefine who was natural. Like if you straighten your hair, that's rooted in self-hate and you don't love yourself. And you're not really part of the natural community because you're not wearing your hair in its natural form. I had to learn to be like, if I want to straighten my hair, I'm going to straighten it. It's funny. It's actually straightened right now, but I like to switch it up. And that does not mean that I don't love or like my hair. So I can't let other people's comments or assumptions really affect me about that. And I'm proud of myself for getting to that point, because back in when I first was going natural, maybe in 2011, 2012, I probably would have held on to those comments a lot more than I do now. Like now I'm like, girl, bye, so it's just interesting the growth that I have come with my hair care and learning to love the hair that grows out of my scalp. And I think that was probably one of my really first self-love journeys was accepting and appreciating what my hair was, which is a part of me. Now, when you think of loving yourself, do you feel lovable only when you look a certain way? Do you feel like you should only love yourself when other people say you should love yourself? Do you only associate how you love yourself with external things like how your hair looks, how you're dressed, having your nails done, things like that? Or perhaps you associate self-love with celebrating yourself because you've done something you're proud of or something that's impressive. Is that the only way that you show love to yourself, or think that's when self-love applies? If so, it may be time to evaluate that and just kind of explore how else can you show love to yourself. When I struggled with enjoying my natural hair the way it was because I was letting other people's comments and assumptions just get too much in my head, I had to evaluate what I was tying my worth to. And it was too attached to what other people said I should look and feel like. The other thing is, if you're struggling with confidence or self-esteem, this could also indicate that you may be struggling with self-love. And I say this because how you view yourself and your self-esteem, if it is low, it is going to affect how you show up for yourself. And self-love is about appreciating who you are. So if you struggle with self-love, you might have a lower self-esteem or self-confidence, or just room for growth, or vice versa. If you feel like you're not a confident person and you just feel pretty insecure about yourself, you might be struggling with appreciating yourself, and that's going to affect how you show up for yourself. And learning how to show yourself self-love and appreciate yourself enough to prioritize your well-being on a daily basis can actually be difficult. It's not something that seems intuitive. Again, like how I was saying earlier, it seems like it's easier to focus on us deserving things and it being a transactional relationship or transactional type of love. But this can be rooted to experiences we've had as children or even as adults, where you may have experienced someone, whether it's an authority figure or someone close or personal to you, where it kind of shook your self-confidence, or how they treated you made you insecure, and that love was withdrawn. So that might just be what you associate love to. So it sometimes is just not an easy thing to overcome or learn how to do well because of our associations with love. And it could be rooted in childhood, but it can also be experiences we've had as adults. So I'm not saying this to try to make it sound like loving yourself is easy and that, you should just love yourself. Because I also find that tends to be the message out there. The people will be like, oh, love yourself. But sometimes we really do need to know how, or what does that look like? And that's another reason why I feel like it's sometimes misguided or misrepresented in social media, because there's just not a lot of conversation about what that could actually look like beyond the going to the spa, beyond the, outward type of things. Those aren't the popular things that get a lot of as much notice as the inner work. But basically, chances are if you have low self-esteem or low self-confidence, then you probably struggle with self-love because you don't believe you're worth prioritizing your well-being. And if you are unsure if you're somebody that struggles with this, I can give you some signs that self-esteem, worthiness, and self-love may be a struggle for you. Number 1, negative self-talk. Are you that person that's like, oh, I'm so dumb. I can never do anything right. Why would they choose me? Just, that negative inner talk. In my wellness coaching classes, we call it the gremlin inside. How do you handle that? When that negativity comes up, do you just keep it going, or super critical, super negative towards yourself? That can indicate that you have a struggle with self-esteem and therefore self-love. Number 2, there could be an issue or struggle with some kind of substance abuse, whether that's alcohol or drugs or other types of substances that can be linked to this. And number 3, lack of boundaries with people, whether it's just you letting people talk to you any kind of which way and you just don't know how to set a boundary with people. That can be an issue, whether that's friends or families. And sometimes it's not as much as that, as you could be a person that tends to overextend yourself. And you try to do that because you want to show appreciation to others. You want to make sure that the people that love and support you feel that you're being loving and supportive of them. But you're overextending yourself, and as a result, neglecting your needs and can't prioritize your well-being. So at the end of the day, that becomes an issue with boundary setting. So that can be an indication that there's room for growth when it comes to how you love yourself. And I have a 4th one, judgment. Those people that just say, oh, I'm just super hard on myself. I have uttered those words before, but sometimes I think we normalize being, mean to ourselves. We'll say, yes, nothing is ever quite good enough. I'm not saying you can't want more for yourself, and it's good to be driven and ambitious, but all that extra judgment on ourselves is often not necessary. And we just are like, oh, that's just how I am. But that could actually be deeper than that's just how you are. Why are you like that? And why do you think it's okay to talk to yourself like that? Where is the compassion? Where is the grace? You can be driven and motivated and ambitious and not be mean or not gracious to yourself. And this is exactly why that short list of those 4 things is why self-love is not limited to the tangible things. It is deeper than the superficial things that we see, the celebratory things that we see. It's a lot more about how you treat yourself and how you talk to yourself, how you feel about yourself, how you view yourself. And all of that kind of stuff is priceless. So how does true self-love work? And how does true self-love look? Well, like we've already discussed, it can be a form of celebration. I really want to reiterate, celebrating yourself is beautiful and is great. And it is a form of self-love, but it is not limited to that. Some may say that self-love looks like self-care. And in a lot of ways it does, because it's about prioritizing and meeting your needs, prioritizing your well-being. So yes, I could agree with that as well. The way I take care of myself, the way that I learned what works and what doesn't work for my hair was motivated by the love and appreciation that I have for it being there. It also looks like, how you were saying, being ambitious and driven without all of that extra judgment and criticalness. You can analyze your efforts and everything without being harsh on yourself in a negative way. It also looks like having good boundaries with people, friends, families, coworkers, everyone, paying attention to the feedback that your body and your mind is giving you. You feel like you're always giving for the sake of taking care of others, but you have not had time to do some self-grooming, shower, take a little bit of time for yourself. That's a little bit of neglect to yourself, and that's not prioritizing your well-being. So it may be time to reevaluate that. That is also self-love. Another good way to figure out what self-love look like to you is prioritizing your routines. Some people like to call them your rituals. Rituals being just that they're routines, but with intention. It's just not a mindless habit. It's something very thought out, and it's just intentional to help you center and balance yourself. Maybe instead of thinking about, oh my goodness, I just have to exercise, even though I hate exercising, instead you can reframe that and say, I have to prioritize movement because my body gets energy from that. I feel more restored, rejuvenated with it. So sometimes it's reframing not just the mindset, but the words around it. Instead of just saying, I got to work out, you got to say, I have to move my body. I just need to really move my body. And really, I don't know why, but that causes a mental shift, and you create this perspective that it's all about, that's your ritual. In the mornings, you get up, you get dressed, and you move your body. And that's how you get going for your day. Self-love also looks like taking time to rest. Take the break, okay? I remember when I was working full-time remotely at home, and I was being like 8-hour Zoom calls, my goodness. But we would take these short breaks here and there. Say I took a 10-minute break, 5 of those minutes I would take to step away from my computer, actually go into a different room of my apartment and stretch. And that just really helped me mentally check back in, wake back up. Resting and taking breaks can really just help you not lose your mind. So take the break, rest up. And that's all in the name of self-love. It's funny, the other day I was actually talking to my mom. It had been a really, really busy day for me. And we were like, oh, we should watch one of our shows and just unwind. And I was like, yes, that would be perfect. I just need to chill. And then in the same breath or in the next breath, I was like, you know what? I'm going to clean the kitchen while we watch the show. And she was like, well, that's not really fully relaxing. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And sometimes it's just in us to think, okay, I got this to do. I have that to do. I got to go. Let me kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I was like, I'm going to rest and clean at the same time. And sometimes cleaning can be a little bit therapeutic. But that day I needed to do nothing but unplug. And so I'm glad that she pointed that out to me, because I decided to not clean the kitchen at that moment. And we sat and we watched our show and ate some really good chocolate chip cookies. And it was great. And I felt better and rejuvenated with that, way better than I would have felt if I was also cleaning the kitchen. But small changes like these, this inner work, is what is going to help you be better at loving yourself. It's going to give you a more well-rounded view and application of self-love. You see how it's deeper than just the celebratory things, and it's more than just deserving something. It's about appreciating you for you and prioritizing your well-being. And I promise that the more you work on it, it's like a muscle. The more you work on it, the better you'll get at it, and it will become more and more second nature, and you'll be able to notice shifts when you start to neglect yourself. You'll be able to pick up on, you know what, I'm not very being kind to myself, and I don't feel good when I'm not kind, or when you don't feel good when people aren't kind to you. So it may be harder to pick up when you're not kind to yourself, but the more that you are aware of that and work on that, the easier it's going to be to get better at that. Of course, I always got to give you guys some research. So research has linked learning how to show yourself some self-love to benefits such as better recovery from stress. I need that. A more optimistic look on life, healthy behavior changes, less anxiety, less depression, better mental health, more self-awareness, higher self-esteem, better sleep, and more. I mean, those are really great reasons, all from learning how to treat and appreciate yourself. So the research is there for it. It's not just a buzz. It has been a buzzword, but it shouldn't just be a buzzword. It can really make some transformational changes in your life if you can learn how to prioritize your well-being. But all of this to say, your well-being is important. And I hope that this was insightful. I hope that this can maybe help you reflect and maybe even reevaluate how you show love to yourself. Going through this has even helped me and reminded me like, oh my goodness, yeah, sometimes the way that I talk to myself or the way that I think about myself is important, or taking a break is not lazy. It's re-energizing, and it gives me the energy, and it's prioritizing my well-being. So the spa treatments, the nail appointments, the hair stuff is great. And I want you to keep going to those and doing those things. But I also think it'd be really helpful and beneficial, and the research says it is too, for us to learn how to have a well-rounded type of self-love, because that is going to give you longevity and make you feel better overall on a daily basis. So that's it. That's the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep those ratings coming in. Don't forget to watch the YouTube channel. I will upload the video as well. But thanks again so much for tuning in. And until next episode, bye.